What's the most ridiculous reason you've been denied service? I was at my favorite local diner that I'd been going to since I was a kid. It's one of those small town places where everyone knows everyone, and the waitresses call you honey or sweetheart, regardless of your age. I'd celebrated birthdays there, had countless family dinners, and even worked there for a summer during high school. The owner, Marge, was practically family at this point, so imagine my shock when I walked in for my usual Saturday breakfast and was immediately stopped by a man I'd never seen before. "I'm sorry, but we can't serve you today," he said with a stern expression. I looked around, confused. The diner was only half full, and several empty booths were available. "Is there a problem?" I asked, genuinely perplexed. The man, who introduced himself as the new manager, pointed to my shirt. "We can't have that in here." I glanced down at my t-shirt. It had the logo of our local high school football team, the Eagles. I'd worn this exact shirt dozens of times before. "What's wrong with my shirt?" I asked, wondering if there was a stain I hadn't noticed. "We don't allow competitive sports merchandise in the establishment anymore," he explained with a completely straight face. I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. "You're kidding, right?" The manager's expression didn't change. "It's our new policy. Some customers might support rival teams and feel uncomfortable." I looked around the diner again. At least 3 other people were wearing sports-related clothing, including an older man in a bright red Cardinals baseball cap. "What about them?" I asked, gesturing toward the other patrons. The manager barely glanced their way. "They were seated before the policy went into effect." I checked my watch. "The policy went into effect in the last 10 minutes? His jaw tightened. "The timing isn't relevant. I'm enforcing it now." This was absurd. I've been coming here my entire life. "Marge knows me." "Where is she?" The manager's demeanor changed slightly. "Marge is no longer involved in day-to-day operations. I make the decisions now." That didn't sound right at all. "Marge loved this place more than anything." "Since when?" I pressed. "That's not information I'm at liberty to discuss," he replied coldly. Now I was getting frustrated. "Look, I just want my usual breakfast. I'll turn my shirt inside out if it's really that big of a deal." The manager lowered his voice. "Between us, we're trying to change our clientele. The new ownership wants to attract a different demographic, and the local sports crowd doesn't fit that vision." I was stunned. "New ownership? Marge sold the diner?" He shifted uncomfortably. "The transition happened last month. We're rebranding as a more upscale establishment." I looked around more carefully now. The old jukebox was gone. The walls that had been covered with local sports memorabilia and community photos were now decorated with generic art prints. The plastic menus had been replaced with fancy, leather-bound ones. "So you're not letting me in because I don't look fancy enough for your new image?" I said it loudly enough that several customers looked up from their meals. The manager's face reddened. "Please keep your voice down." That's not what I said, but it was exactly what he meant. I took one last look at the place where I'd spent countless hours of my life. "You know what? Keep your overpriced eggs. I don't want them anymore." As I turned to leave, I added, "And just so you know, Marge would never have done this." That afternoon, I posted about my experience on our town's community page. Within hours, dozens of locals commented with similar stories. Apparently, the new corporate owners had been pushing out regular customers for weeks. 3 days later, I received a call from Marge herself. She was in tears, explaining that she'd sold to investors who promised to maintain the diner's character, but had immediately broken that promise. A week later, the diner reopened under its original name with a big "Welcome Back" sign. Marge had fought to buy back her business after seeing the community's reaction. My first breakfast back on the house tasted better than ever.